took care of her as a child, that stayed close to her all her life, sent her belongings in a trunk after she got there. She told her where to send this stuff. So this is the day the trunk arrives. And her cousin, whose name is Ben Aaron, he's there too. And inside the trunk was a fiddle. The fiddle that had once belonged to her father. They sent it to her, and she hadn't seen it in years because it had been packed away, so it was like a treasure when she opened it up. Ben Aaron picked up the fiddle by its neck and blew on it, and a fine dust flew out into the sun. He smoothed his fingers over it, and he took out his handkerchief and gently rubbed its back till the whorls of the maple wood picked up the light and glowed. The strings were slack, one was gone, along with its peg. I wondered if Max had been working on it before he died. The bridge was loose in the case. Ben Aaron set it back under the strings and turned the peg slowly and wanged the string with his finger and went to the next, tuning and plucking, and then the next, and then back to the first, a little at a time, listening, coaxing, pressing, praying, it looked like, and cocking his ear for a decent pitch. We should have made you like tuner. One of the pigs kept slipping back. One of the pegs. Did I say pigs?
Yes, you did.
Sorry. You know, the pegs on the fiddle. One of the pegs kept slipping back, and its string would wang down. It was too old and dry to hold. So he took it out and undid it from its string, and he laid down his pipe and popped the peg into his mouth. There was a nub of old rosin in the case, as dry and hard as stone. He reached in his pants pocket and fished out his knife and scraped that rosin to a powder in the palm of his hand and went to work on the bow. He tightened the frog and trimmed the straggly hairs and ran the bow across his palm and worked into the rosin. And then he took that spitty peg and rosined it, and he stuck it back and tightened the string, and it held. All this went on in silence. This was a religious rite. He tuned the thing again. D, A, E, G, A, E, till it suited him. And he stuck his pipe back in the corner of his mouth and relit it, took up the bow and drew a lick across the strings. Awful! The thing screeched and howled and squalled like something alive, like something dragged screaming back into the light after 20 years of dark and peaceful sleep. Ben Aaron took off his hat then and settled himself back with a satisfied look against a porch pillar, and he dangled one long leg down the steps and fastened his eyes upon the hill, and he began to play. I could see him later on playing with the chin rest down under his collarbone, sort of unconcerned while people danced. But not now. He rested his cheek on his fiddle's own face, and he played. He played with no visible effort, with the smallest motion. I'd wondered about those strong, polished fingers, and now I knew what they were for. Do you know this? He said. I felt small and humble. Yes, sir, I said. Mecca used to play it. It was Fisher's reel, and it was sublime. One tune slid into another. He would stop and tune and pick up in another direction. He bowed and plucked. He bowed and plucked, and the fiddle danced and barked and cackled and crooned. It was 100 voices, and sometimes they all talked two at a time. You know Patty on Turnpike, he said. And I guess I did, but I never liked this. It raised my hair. I got goosebumps. I squatted there by him, afraid. If I drew a long breath, it would go away. Lord, he could play. There was a quality about it that was beyond this nice man sitting here. It was more than just those loose running and rejoicing. It was cocky and powerful and tireless and merciless. I thought it would wear you out and lift you up and make you move until you died of joy. It was seductive. All of this on those old rotten strings. When he was down to 2, he laid the fiddle on his lap and took his handkerchief to it again. I was mesmerized. Mercy on us, Ben Aaron, I said. My mouth was dry. This thing needs some new pegs, bad, he said. See? Clunk, clunk. It won't hold its key. When I get a chance, I'll make some pegs, and I'll bring them down some strings, and we'll get things to play. Oh, no, I said. You take that fiddle right with you. Lord knows you ought to have it. Oh, I'd not do that, he said. I've got one, of course. Not a bad one. We all have one, you know, all of us. Homemade, like this, and pretty good. He got up with it and held it out into the sunlight so that the sun shined in one of the holes, and he squinted into its inside. "Look here, Cousin Sin," he said, "you need to know what this is." He held it for me to look inside. There were some dark letters on the bottom. It looked like they'd been burned. It said, IMAC 1797. That was her grandpa's initials, I believe. "I'll bet you this is a present that old man Ivan McAllister made for his son-in-law, Hamilton Steele, the one that built this place. It's kind of passed down with the house. You got the children," he said. "It belongs with you." He wrapped it up in his rag. "I remember," he said, "when they used to have dances here, and your granddaddy Ike would play it. Now he could play. And Aunt Daisy, she would dance. People would step back and watch her, and she could outdance anybody I ever saw. Outbuck a man. That was the dancingest woman alive." He closed up the little coffin and got himself up and stretched. "I've got to go," he said. "Tell me where you want this stuff to go, and I'll carry it." That was when they were carrying her trunk in the house. And he had to go, so. That was the end of that little scene. You got your fiddle out. Is it one of the handmade ones?
Yeah, it is.
You can tell us about it.
Yeah, this fiddle's handmade by my uncle. His name was Ashe. He lived just over the line in Virginia, actually. He lived sometime over here in Ashe County. He made his fiddle about, I think 1975 or something like that.
Did any of you know Albert Ashe? Did anybody?
Heard of you.
Did you know him, Jim?
Yeah, I know.
Wow, he made it in 1979?
75.
Oh. This one in the book was 1797. So he's got it carved in there too, like on the inside. That's neat.
I'll try to play a little bit